Alrighty, I want to welcome everyone out to tonight's tax lien and deed training. I'm excited to be here with you folks this evening, and we've got a ton of information to go over. Really, I mean, we're pretty much doing a full day's worth of something I would teach in a seminar setting. So I mean, what we're going to be covering today would take a whole day. So we're going to be just rushing through, but we're going to be going through a ton of good information. So I mean, if you are interested in online tax lien deed investing, this is really going to be a good overview. And so you guys that are on the line this evening, people that'll watch this in the future online and on through the website, this is really going to be a good training that's going to be a good overview of what is online tax lien and tax deed investing. So we're going to go over some internet auctions. We're going to go over the different companies. So we've got a ton of information to go over this evening. Now, if you have any questions, go ahead and ask your questions in the chat section. That's usually the best for me. That way I can see everyone's questions at once. Just go ahead and ask the different questions. We'll try to address them as many as we can this evening. If I'm not able to get to your question, because we have so much information to cover in this particular training, go ahead and ask your questions in the forum section of the website. This is going to be a great resource for all of us. If you have general questions, tax lien, tax deed questions, go ahead and ask them there, and we'll go ahead and answer them, and then everyone can kind of enjoy in the different answers that we're able to provide, and really the discussion that we can have on that particular subject. So let's go ahead and get started. Tonight we're going to talk about really how online auctions are the future for tax lien and deed investing. We're going to talk about who are the big players in the game. So who are the big companies that do online auctions, and then really how can I use online auctions. Then after that we're going to go live on the internet, and we will start looking at upcoming auctions. So we'll check out tax deed auctions, we'll look at tax lien auctions, we'll also look at how to purchase over-the-counter tax liens online. So as I mentioned, this is really a full day's training in really the next hour to an hour and a half. So let's get into it. So first I want to start with a quote. Those that know me know that I'm a big fan of Evel Knievel. I was born in the late 70s, so he was just kind of, his last jump was around the time I was born. But so I kind of played with his toys. You could find him in garage sales and things like that, and so became a big fan of him even as a kid. And he has a lot of interesting quotes, and he always said, "You're never a failure in life unless you refuse to get up." And he would do tons of jumps. In fact, he's known more for his crashes, and everyone thinks that he crashed a lot, and he did to a degree. He probably crashed anywhere from 10 to 15 times, but he did over 300 or 400 jumps. So you look at how many jumps he did, and also he always was willing to get back up and get back on the bike, and he was able to keep his career going for really, and was a big star of the 70s. So that's something that we can look at in life as well. There may be bumps in the road, but we're never a failure as long as we keep doing and keep moving forward. As far as some of the resources, if you're on the line this evening, that means that you're part of the member center. We are going to have weekly webinars at 6 o'clock. In addition to that, we're going to have the forum, which we'll be able to use for email support. Last week, I talked about some of the things that are going to be coming here in the future, where we'll have additional services that are available. Up to this point, if you can ask most of your questions in the chat section, that in the forum section for general tax lien and deed questions, because I actually get just so many emails each day. I'll spend several hours going through emails. So, and some of the questions are general type questions. And so if it's a general question, let's get a good discussion going on in the forum so everyone can benefit. And if somebody asks that question, I can say, hey, go check out this forum post. We had some good insight and some tips for getting started or for whatever. So tonight we're going to be talking about online auctions. We're going to have really get into all of the different topics. So first, as far as the online auctions, you're going to find all the online auctions that are taking place on secretsoftaxlientinvesting.com. So if there's an online auction that's coming up, we're going to have it there. We're going to have tax liens. We're going to have tax deed auctions. If there's an online auction, I'm constantly looking at the different companies that offer them, and when a new auction comes up, we go ahead and put it on the website. So it's going to be really your one-stop shop for tax lien and deed online auctions. So you can always refer there. So don't worry about writing all of the different companies that we're going to be talking about down today, because any of those companies or even additional online auctions, we're going to have them available there for you. So you can just go there, find the online auction, and click on the auction. You can also see which auctions are coming up and what different counties have them. As far as some of the online auctions that are coming up, there's online auctions in California, Colorado, Florida. Over-the-counter tax lien sales are happening right now. Florida tax deed auctions. There's Indiana lien and deed auctions occasionally, and there's going to be a few of them coming up. There's Louisiana auctions that are taking place, New York. There's a ton of Michigan auctions right now. New Jersey tax lien auctions, Washington tax deed auctions. And so you can see that these are just some of the auctions that are coming up within the next, 30 to 90 days. So there's going to be a ton of auctions. In fact, there's a lot of auctions that are happening right now. And so, with that much opportunity, you can see all of the states that are doing online auctions. That's a lot of states that we can invest into. I mean, we've got good states here: California, Colorado, Florida, there's New Jersey. There's a ton of good states here where you can purchase tax sale investments. And so knowing how to participate in online auctions, research online auctions is gonna really give you an edge up in the game of tax lien and deed investing. So there's a ton of counties that are moving to an online system. The auctions are essentially held by the county, but there's different companies that have developed software, and they make individual websites that really replace the old traditional auction. The auction at the county courthouse, where there's an auctioneer. You have a bidder number, you put up your bidder number, and whoever's the high bidder wins the property. Whoever's the low tax lien certificate, whoever earns the lowest interest rate in the tax lien in a bid down interest system, that person wins the tax lien certificate. Now there is those auctions that are still out there, so you can still go and attend a live auction. It's fun to attend a live auction, but if you're only focusing on live auctions, and that limits your opportunity with really purchasing tax liens and deeds, and also doing a ton of it online, really from the comfort of your home. There's really not that many investment strategies that you can do as comfortably from your home as tax lien and deed investing. I mean, really, with tax lien investing, you don't even have to fly anyone out there or anything like that. You can do the online research that'll give you enough information to know if it's a good tax lien or not. You don't need to send somebody out there. Now, if we're looking at tax deed investing, because that is real estate investing, it's going to take some more due diligence. It's going to take a little bit more work, but then, of course, there's a huge reward. We're talking about real estate ownership right then. So, if you understand tax lien and tax deed investing, you have really got a leg up in your own investment future, your own retirement, because you have the skill to go out and earn a double-digit return on your money. You don't have to worry about the stock market, about that tax lien certificate, or that interest rate dropping. You know exactly what you're going to make on your money before you even invest. That's the great thing about tax lien certificates. There's no guessing game. You know exactly what you're going to earn on your money. I'm going to earn 18% on this tax lien certificate. You know that beforehand. So every month I'm earning a 1.5% on my money. You're not worrying about the market. You're not worrying really about anything with that certificate, and you know how long you're waiting before the property owner pays you back. You know exactly, oh, this tax lien certificate has a 1-year redemption period, or this tax lien has a 2-year redemption period. You know exactly how long you need to wait before you can start foreclosure or force the sale. So either way, most of the time you're going to make back your money and your interest. Even if you go to the point of foreclosure. But either way, you're going to be making a great interest rate return on your money. And if you don't, you're going to be able to foreclose on a property. That's really that you've paid a fraction of the property values. So we're going to go through and talk and show you how to be able to do this online. A lot of the counties out there have developed their own system to really handle the auctions, but most of the counties will use one of these online auctions or one of these big boy auction companies that handle a lot of the online auctions. So as far as online auctions, how do you do them? Well, this is obviously very simple steps, and really it is simple in a way. The first thing you're going to need to do is register. Now, registration is not a big deal. It's not going to cost you any money to register. It's just going to take a few minutes. You're going to do it over the line. You're going to fill out your information. They're going to essentially get you an account for that particular auction company. Now, you can use that account, but you will have to register for different auctions. So if you want to purchase some over-the-counter tax liens in Florida, but you also want to participate in the Colorado County auction, many times you can use that same account. You'll just need to register for the different auctions. And it's pretty self-explanatory as you go through these different steps. Once you've registered, you can go ahead and participate in auctions. Now, some auctions will ask for a deposit down. So if you plan on investing or purchasing $10,000 worth of tax lien certificates, you would want to put down usually about $1,000, about 10%. It may be a little bit more than that. It could be less than that, but that's kind of the general, that's kind of where it's at. And if you plan on investing that much money, you'll know how, the putting down the deposit won't be a big deal. Now, the bidding, it's going to take place on the auction, excuse me, the auction website or the individual county auction. So we'll go through and show you the different types. As far as the bidding process, there's going to be lots of different bidding processes. Every company is going to be a little bit different, but they're really going to be very similar. It's similar to an eBay auction. If you participate in the eBay auction, you can learn how to participate in a tax lien or tax deeder auction. So it's going to be, things will be a little bit different. You'll go through and read the steps and read the county information so you know how the auction system runs. But once you understand it and you can go through it, and once you've done it once, it's going to be a lot easier the next time. So after the auction is over, there'll be a winning bidder, and the winning bidder will be awarded the tax lien certificate or the tax deed. So that's obviously very simple steps, but that's really the process that you're going to go through with every online auction. Now, most of the counties are going to have information downloads that we can use to that are going to have instructions and procedures. They're really going to be the downloads that is going to be important for us to look at. I've talked to investors in the past who didn't know something about an auction, and they found out later. And I asked them, did you read the auction instructions? No, I didn't think I needed to. Well, always read the county's instructions in auctions. Any of the procedures, any information that they have, it's going to be valuable information for us as tax lien and tax deed investors. Don't think we know too much. I mean, I still go through and read all the information because there may be something there that I don't know about. So go through and read all that information. And there's going to be instructions, tutorials, there'll be forms. They're going to have the auction dates, possibly the auction list. They'll always have some type of online list. So, every auction is going to be a little bit different. We'll look through them, but you're going to get that same information. So go through and read it up, soak it up. That way, you're the most informed investor. You're incredibly informed about the auction process. Now, most of these auctions have websites that are completely dedicated. There's a couple of websites out there like Bid for Assets that will have more than one county in that particular auction. Bid for Assets is kind of like the eBay of government tax sales, of government sales, period. So, and we'll go through and talk about each one of these. Also, some of the counties will have practice auctions. So this is going to allow you to practice before the auction is even taking place. Okay. So here are some of the big online auction providers. These are the companies you want to be aware of. Just because if you're doing online auctions, you're going to be working with some of these companies, especially the first three. I would say that 80% of online tax lien investing is done through these three companies. The first is bidforassets.com. As I mentioned, they're kind of the eBay of government tax sales, of government sales, period. Not just tax sales, but IRS sales, that kind of thing. So they have a lot of different categories, but one of their categories is tax sale investing. Realauction.com. This is a company that has tax lien and tax deed auctions, and each county has their own website for their auction. So we'll go through and look at them. Grant Street Group is very similar to Real Auction. They kind of battle it out to a degree, as far as, they both have clients in many of the same states. They both offer tax lien and tax deed investing. And so if I was to say there's two companies that are kind of battling out for the same strategy or for the same market, it would be those two different companies. SRI Auctions, they do a handful of auctions other than Indiana, but they mostly focus in the Indiana area. Civic Source really does tax lien sales for Louisiana. And then there's also some other providers as well. So realauction.com, this is really one of the biggest sources. They're going to have tax deed auctions in Florida. They're also going to have tax lien auctions in Arizona, Colorado, Florida, Maryland, Illinois, Nebraska, and New Jersey. So you can see that they have quite a few sites. I mean, they probably have over 100 New Jersey auction sites. So they have a ton of different auctions that are being taken place. So each state is going to have its own practice site, and these practice auctions are going to be held daily. So you can participate in practice before you even attend the auction or participate in the sale. I mean, that way when you go into it, you've got a feel for how it actually works. If you plan on participating in one of the auctions, do the practice auction. This is really your training, and you want to be the best. You want to be the best investor with your money you can be, and so it's worth it to be well educated. Being educated, that's part of the reason that we've had so many successful students, is because they were educated. They were the smartest person about tax sale investing at the sale. If you're the smartest person at the sale, you've got a unique advantage, even if you don't buy any property at the auction. Why? How could you have an advantage if you didn't buy any property? Well, because you knew you couldn't make the profit on those properties, or there was something that made you, hold back. That's a good thing. That means you are being wise with your money. And so, regardless of if you are able to buy property or not, having that knowledge keeps you from making mistakes and being smart with your different types of investments. If it's tax deed investing, if it's tax lien investing. Also, sometimes they're going to have bidder orientation trainings. Like Colorado has auctions coming up. They'll have trainings that are very similar to the training that we're on this evening, that will take you through and show you how to participate in the auction. So it'll be kind of like a webinar, a seminar that'll go through and talk about the auction. So there's going to be plenty of things out there that are, secrets of tax lien investing, the resources from the county, the resources from the online auction companies, that we can learn a ton about the auction and really go into an auction prepared. Also, in addition to those online auctions that we talked about, they also have over-the-counter sales. These are called county-held liens. These are tax liens and deeds that didn't, well, tax liens, not tax deeds, but tax liens that didn't sell at the auction that are available directly from the county. And you can actually purchase these tax liens online. We're going to look at some tonight. These can be purchased this evening. You can go through the process and purchase tax liens right online and do the research online and be making 18% on your money. You can't beat that. You can't beat that investment, and this is something that is available to all of us just by doing the research, looking through the properties, and then purchasing the ones that we think are good investments. One thing I guess I should mention is that you can use bank cards. So that's something, that makes it nice as well, of course, because it's all done online. So each county is going to have its own auction website. As I mentioned, they're going to have tutorials and property information. You can see over here on the left-hand side, they have the bidding rules. They have training. They have the different links that are available, including the county treasurer, the property appraiser. If we want to look up some more information, we can click on those links and find more information from the county office. Also, you can see where we start here. Then you can also register. Once you've registered, then you can go ahead and start purchasing tax liens. You can also preview items for sale, and that's how we're obviously going to see the sale list. We're going to click on the preview items for sale. I guess I had little arrows. And that's going to take us to the county auction website list. So we can see here there's the ADV number at the top, the parcel ID number, the face amount, and the status. And we can click on the ADV number to pull up really kind of a quick overview of what this tax lien certificate or what type of property this tax lien is on. We can also click on the parcel ID to pull up the property records. So when we're looking at a list like this, essentially we can search the list by price, looking for tax liens at the price we're looking for. So if we want to buy, let's say we want to just purchase a cheap lien to begin with. So we're looking at a lien that's anywhere, between $100 to $300. We would go through and we could look by the face amount and then look at the tax lien certificates that are associated to that. There's also additional information on the list that we can see exactly if each tax lien has outstanding tax liens. There's a Google Map feature now. So this is actually a little bit of an outdated list because there's going to be even more information that we're going to look at when we go and look at the list online. So essentially, the key points from this is you can look up the information by clicking here and here. So when you're looking at a list, if it's underlined, that means there's a link there. That means there's more information to be found, and that's actually a tip as well as looking in county records. If there's additional links in county records, click on those to see what additional information is available. So as far as the tax deed auctions, these auctions are in Florida. They're held monthly. They offer tax sale foreclosures. There's also some websites that offer mortgage foreclosures as well. What we're concerned about is tax sale foreclosures because mortgages foreclosures are going to start at 90 to 100% of their value. Tax sale foreclosures are going to start at usually about 10 to 20% of their value. So you've got a lot bigger opportunity to make money on a tax sale property and a tax deed property. You can bid on these properties directly from your computer. We over the last couple of months ago, we were able to pick up a couple properties in Florida. We bid on these properties straight from the computer. Just like the tax lien auctions, you're able to pull up the property records by going through and looking at the list. So here's an example of one of the tax deed auctions. Each auction is going to have its own website so for each county. So, this county is Indian River County. They have their own auction website for their tax sale. Then you can go ahead and click on the auction calendar, and you can see what tax sale properties are coming up for sale. You can go ahead and click on the auction. We can see 41 tax deed foreclosures. We go ahead and click on that, and we can start looking at the tax sale list. So once we click on the tax sale list, it's going to look similar to this. We're going to have the auction type. We can see, of course, it's tax deed, the certificate number. But what's most important to us is the next three items. First is the opening bid. That's obviously going to tell us, a little bit about the property. We're also going to look at the parcel ID because that is going to have the link to the property record, to the county record. So we're going to want to click on that and see what the county has to say about the property. We also have the property address. So we can go ahead and Google Map that, or we can Zillow it and find out more about the property. Also, most of them are also going to have the assessed value as well. So they're going to have the assessed value, so we can look at the opening bid amount versus the assessed value and make a judgment on the property very quickly. We're gonna be able to make a judgment as you get more and more used to going through and looking at a tax sale list. You can make a judgment on a property within a matter of seconds. Now you can find out additional things or surprises in a property. Maybe it doesn't look like it has a high value, and you really look at it and the county has just underassessed it. And so, you're looking at an opening bid of $9,000, and maybe the property says it's worth $22,000, and you say, well, that's not really that good of a split. And you look into it, and maybe the property is worth $50,000 or $60,000 or whatever. So there can be different things, but usually looking at those two things, and also making sure that it has an address can tell us a lot about a property. So from there, we'll go ahead and click on the county parcel ID to pull up the county record, and that's going to take us to the property record. The property record is going to have some type of map feature. We'll always want to use the map feature. We also want to click on, and usually they'll have an additional map where you see a small one like this, and you can click on a link and pull up the online map. You want to check and make sure you find a property image from the county, and most of them will have it, that you can look for the aerial view in addition to the overlay map. So that way you can see, okay, there is a home here, and then some counties will have images of the property. You will only see this, but sometimes you will. And if not, what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and take that site address, copy and paste it, and go ahead and look the property up on Zillow.com just to get an idea. But then, of course, we can see what type of property it is. It'll have sales information. It's going to have the size of the property, how many square feet, improvement value. It's going to have just a ton of information that we'll go over as we go throughout the webinar this evening. So as far as getting started, after reviewing an online auction, say you get started, you can start going through an online auction. You find properties that you're interested. You're going to go ahead and want to register for the sale. As I mentioned, it takes just a couple of minutes. Now, after registering, you're going to set some criteria so you can start researching. And really, you've probably already done that. You've probably already, to a degree, set some criteria, found properties that have a opening bid amount that looks good to you. You can figure, and also one thing to figure with a lot of properties is that opening bid amount could easily double depending on the value of the property. So if we're looking at a property that's worth 80 grand and it's listed for 10 grand, it could easily sell for 20, if not more. And sometimes you'll get them for that opening bid amount or just shy of that. So maybe it's a $10,000 property and you get it for 12 or 14 or 15. But if usually depending on the total assessed value or the total market value, really not the assessed value, if there's a good split there, then overall it's going to be a pretty good investment. Now, as far as registration, here's just an example of how to register. Pretty simple process. As you start looking at online auctions and look at more online auctions, you're going to want to register with many of the different auction companies. And also, it's smart to keep all of that information in one place. So, create a Word doc or create some doc that has all of your usernames and passwords for all of the different companies, all of the different websites and online auctions that you register for. Alrighty, here's Bid for Assets. As I mentioned, this is similar to the eBay of online tax deed investing. You can see they have the Marshal Service, they have federal, state, local government, county tax sales. Of course, what we're looking for is we're looking for county tax sales. It's usually going to be over here on the left-hand corner. Now, once we go ahead and click on county tax sales, it's going to pull up the county tax sale page. Unlike Real Auction or Grand Street Group that we're going to show you here in a minute, the different county auctions are held on just a web page of bidforassets.com. So they're not going to have their own website. They're going to have their own web page that handles the auction. Here's the county tax sale. We can see the auction calendar here, and below that we can see a list of the different auctions that are coming up. So we can see these auctions. We can click on any of these auctions and pull up the individual auction page. So if we were to go ahead and click on, one of these counties, it's going to take us to the auction page. And that's where we're going to find the date, the property list, really all the information that we're going to need, we're going to be able to find here, or at least a good portion of it. So if we continue to scroll down, you can see the different information that's available, the county terms of sale, the bid forms, the property list in Excel and PDF, and also the online property files. You can see these different files that are down here. These are going to be the online property files that you can look at the individual properties online. A lot of these lists, the Excel list actually has a link that'll take you to the individual online file. So I really like using the Excel list to look through the list, because going through each individual online file can take quite a bit of time. And if you can just click on the link and it'll pull up the Excel list, that's going to be a pretty good, a pretty quick way to do it. So if we're using the online files, we can go ahead and click on the individual files to pull up the property records. Once we've clicked on one of the links, it's going to pull up the property information. First of all, we can see the physical address. Seeing a physical address is pretty important, because we're going to be able to use that physical address to look up the property record and to look at the property on even simple things like Google Maps and Zillow if there's some type of structure. We can also see the legal description. That's not going to mean a ton to us right now. The assessed value, that's going to be important. The assessed value shows us an indication of value. So if there's no assessed value, there's probably not very much value to the property. Now, the assessed value in many times is going to be lower than the actual market value, anywhere between, I guess on the one end it could be a market value, and then it can just be a portion of market value. So a $10,000 property might be worth 15 to 20, just depending on the individual area that you're looking. In addition to that, this one has a parcel image we can click on, look at a picture of the property, has a parcel map, and of course we're going to go through and look at all this information. So once we click on one of the individual properties, we're going to see the minimum bid amount. We can see this is a single family home. We were able to pull up the picture, and we were able to see there's a single family home here. Okay. The next group is Grand Street Group. Now, this is really the other company that is fighting with, well, they're not fighting. I shouldn't say that at all. But, they're kind of the two big companies that have the same type of systems to a degree, that are, in many of the same states. So this is This is, as I mentioned, Grant Street Group. And so they're going to offer online tax lien sales in Florida, Arizona, Maryland. They also have deed sales in Florida as well. Now, much like real auction, each county is going to have its own auction website. You can see we have the introduction, question and answers, the documents section. We can also, of course, click here to register. And then once we go to the site, we'll go ahead and put in our username and password and register for the website. So once you log in, it's going to look something like this. You're going to see the different auctions that are coming up that you can participate in. You'll have the batch schedule down here below. With this particular site and some sites you'll see out there, tax liens are separated into batches. And essentially all that means is that's just a specific number of tax lien certificates. So, a batch may be 10 tax liens in a batch. And it's just a way they separate the list for the auction. So, one batch will open up at 9 o'clock, the next batch will open up at 9:10, 9:20, so forth. And just going through the entire list of tax lien certificates. And so that's all the batch means. You can go ahead and there's going to be different things you can click on here, different information, the number of bids you've had, the number of winning bids, the face value of winning bids. So, how many winning bids do you have? What's the total of those tax lien certificates? You can also search by different criteria. So you can search by face amount. You can search by assessed value. You can search by previous years or if there's additional tax lien certificates on the property. So you can actually do a pretty good search with some of these Grant Street groups. This is actually not something that's available on Real Auction. So this is a pretty nice tool on Grant Street Group that you can use. Now, I like Real Auction's information that's available on the list better than what these guys provide, but really either different company or system is going to have its own advantages. But really the advantage to us is participating in the online sale. So by clicking on the parcel number, we can go ahead and pull up some additional information. We can click on the assessor link to click up and pull up the assessor's information. They have a map feature over here you can click on. And we can see the face amount of the tax lien certificate. And then, of course, to get more information on it, at this point, we'd go ahead and click on the assessor's information. So here we can see some assessor information. We can see the site address, the owner's name, the assessed value, the sell information, the zoning information. So we see this particular property is an office building, commercial property. It was sold for $56,000. It has a assessed value of I believe $106,000. And we can click up the tax information here, the owner information, the investor information, assessment information. So there's some pretty good information that is available for us to help decide, which tax lien certificate is going to be a good investment or not. Here is SRI Auctions. This is obviously another company. They primarily do tax lien and tax deed auctions in Indiana, but they also do some tax liens in Colorado and some different places, and they're kind of reamping their system as well. In fact, this is actually kind of old because they just changed their website a couple months ago. So this is an older slide. But the process is going to be exactly the same. The website's the same, just has a different look. You're going to go ahead and register just like you would with any of the other auction sites and participate that way. There's also FloridaTaxSales.com. They offer tax lien auctions in a handful of the different counties in Florida. So tax sale portal or FloridaTaxSales.com is going to have auction website similar to Grant Street Group. Very, kind of the same process, and kind of the same system. So, there's just really a handful of states that use this company, but they do still have auctions. Civic Source is another company. They primarily are doing tax auctions in Louisiana. So most of the sales that they do are Louisiana. They have done a handful of the other areas as well. And also there is some New York online auctions, NewYorkAuctionBids.com, and then also the Harf Company. These are the two different auction websites and they primarily do auctions in New York. And there's also MichiganTaxSales.com. Well, it's actually Tax Sale Info, but they handle the Michigan tax sales. And so this is going to be primarily the website and it's just really dedicated to Michigan auctions. The viewing can be held online. The auctions are held online, but also some of the auctions you'll actually have video view. So in some of the auctions I participated in, it was almost like we were sitting there in the room with the different auctioneers that were there on site, because we could see the people we were bidding with, we could see the auctioneer, and we would register our online bid, and they would say internet bidder, A bid, and we could see who's, essentially who's bidding against us as well. So it's a little bit different. Not every auction is like that, but some of them were, and so it was interesting. And they're going to primarily do Indiana auctions. They also have what's called a resale, and that's where they start off auctions as little as $100. So for anywhere between $100, to $500, every property is going to start at that amount. So it's an interesting auction. It's after they've already offered their properties online over the last couple of months. It'll be the last sale, and so that's a good time especially if you're looking to get started with tax deed investing, but you don't have a huge amount to get started with. You could look at some of those different properties, maybe a building lot, something like that, that you could pick up and turn around and sell for a profit. And of course, as any online auction companies are made available, their information, comes out, we're going to let you know about it. I found an auction company that was doing a South Carolina tax deed auction, which is not really the way South Carolina works. South Carolina is a tax lien auction system, but the county has a bunch of properties that didn't have people purchase the tax and certificates on, and the county foreclosed on those properties and were offering them up at the sale. And so this particular company had a South Carolina tax deed auction. We, of course, were able to find that, and we put it on the website. So if there's any online auctions that are coming up, we're going to know about them, and we're going to make them available to you. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go ahead and start looking at some online auctions. And this is something I'm actually excited to start doing, because we're going to be able to look at some pretty good sales coming up. Now I want to go ahead and also, as you guys have any questions, don't be afraid to ask them. Okay, it looks like we've got quite a few questions. Do all the counties use the same format for their OTC and auction list, and how do they differ? That's a great question. The counties are going to be different. So you're going to see all different types of county list. They may include a ton of information. So we might have addresses, we might have you know, property value and assessed value, um, and then it just may be the opening bid amount and a parcel number and owner information. So it's really going to depend on the list. There's going to be quite a few different types, but essentially we're going to be able to find the list and find the information that we need. Is this being recorded to watch later? Yeah, it is being recorded, and so we'll have the replay line available on the website. Okay, let's go ahead and start getting with the webinar. Okay, first of all, we're going to go ahead and look at Archuleta County, Colorado. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and click on the Member Center. And from there, we're going to go ahead and click on the online auctions. Once we click on the online auctions, we're going to go ahead and click on the online tax lien auctions. From here, we are going to go to Colorado, and we're going to click on Archuleta County. Now that's going to go ahead and pull up the Archuleta County tax lien auction page. So this is going to be the web page that we're going to use or go to participate in this auction. Of course, we can see the bidding rules over here, the results, the training information, the certificate process, the county treasurer, property assessor, and some of the other links that are available. From here, we can go ahead and register if we wanted to. And to see the tax sale list, we can go ahead and click on Preview Items for Sale. Now, once we click on Preview Items for Sale, you can see that there's not a lot of information in this particular list. We just have the sequence number, we have the parcel ID, and the face amount. And so some of the other lists, like Florida, for example, will have Google views that we can click on, and will give us some additional information. And it'll also have information as far as outstanding taxes. But this is, Archuleta County doesn't have as many tax sale lists or tax sale properties. I mean, we can see that there's only 398 tax liens. So really, we're looking at quite a small tax sale. If we wanted to, we can go up here and click on the face amount, and it'll separate the tax and certificates by amount. So what we're going to have is we're really just going to be looking at these tax liens by face amount. Now, we don't have a huge amount. You can see there's only under 400 tax liens total. And so as far as the amount that we plan on investing, we're going to have a good idea of how much we're looking to invest. And so, if we want to invest in tax liens between $1,000 and $2,000, we could start looking at these different tax lien certificates. Now, the way to find out any information is just by clicking on the parcel number, because at this point, we don't know a ton about the tax lien certificate. So we can see the property is located right here. We can see it has a actual value of about $80,000. We can see any type of associated documents right here. And we can see that this is a commercial building. It was built in 1970, and it's just under 2,000 square feet. We can also see, what the square feet is over here as far as the garage, base area, open porch, patio. We can also see that this was sold back in 2011 or granted to the Colorado Mountain Rangers Troop F. Before that, it was owned by Dr. Mary Fisher Medical Center, and so we can see it was sold probably to some type of Rangers troop, obviously. Of course, we have the map available right here. For some reason, they don't have a site address. I haven't seen that before where they don't have a site address. Here's a taxing certificate for $16,000. Okay, so for this particular property, we even have photos. We can see the overhead map right here. We can click on the photos and look at different photos of the property. So it's quite an expensive taxing certificate, but we can see that it has a value of $788,000. So would your $16,000 be protected by, on this type of a property? Well, yeah, this property is worth, probably $800 to $1 million. So your money would be protected on this taxing certificate. Now, I don't want to spend too much time on tax liens because there's some pretty good tax deed auctions that I'd like to show you as well. But I want to look in New Jersey. Okay. Now here, there's an auction coming up. We're going to go ahead and click on bidding rules, and we'll be able to see that the auction starts on 10/15/2015. So we can see when the auction date starts. From there, we're going to go ahead and click on preview items for sale. Now you can see this list has a little more information than the last list had. We can see that they have an ADV number that's underlined. We can see the year of the delinquent taxes. We can see the map that we can go ahead and click on to pull up a map of the property. And then we have the parcel ID number. So if we're looking at this first tax lien certificate for $338, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and click on the ADV number. Now that's going to go ahead and pull up the property. I can see the property address right here, 154 Wills Avenue. I can see the size of the property right here. It's about 1/3 of an acre. And I also can see the value of the property right over here. We can see that it has a building value of 149, a land value of 69, it has a total value, assessed value of 219. And then of course we see the taxing certificate for only $338. Now I don't know this, and we can look and see, but I would imagine that this is probably not a taxing certificate on property taxes. This is a taxing certificate on some type of water bill or sewer bill or some type of assessment tax. But an assessment tax is just like a taxing certificate for property taxes. They're both tax liens. It's a tax owed to the government for some type of water or sewer bill or something like that. And then because of it, it acts just like a taxing certificate, has foreclosure rights and everything. Now, there's also some additional information up along here that's going to be very important for us. We can see that there's currently 3 bidders on this property. So this auction is essentially kind of taking place right now. Will end on the 15th. I can click here and pull up the location map. You can see an overhead view of the property right here. Okay, so here we can see that there is a sewer charge and a cost that's probably additional cost into like penalties, for example. So we can see the total amount right here is $338 for this taxing certificate, and it's because of an unpaid sewer bill. The reason I knew that is because of the amount of the taxing certificate. A property that's worth $218 in New Jersey is going to have a pretty high property tax rate. So their property taxes are going to be more than $338. It could be anywhere between $2,000 to $5,000, and maybe even more. I can also click over here and look at certificate history. Now on this property, this is the first certificate. There hasn't been a tax lien on this property before, so this is the first time there's been a tax lien on this property. If there has been tax liens in the past, even if they have been paid, it would be here in the certificate history. So we can see, oh, they had a property tax lien in 2012, but they paid it in 2013. They had one in 2014, and then ended up paying it last year, and now they have another one. But of course, this is the first time this property has had a tax lien certificate. Now, from here, we can go ahead and do a quick Zillow view. We can also check out a Google Map view as well. So I'll just come over here and I'll just copy and paste the address. Okay. And so we can see that we have a single family home here. Overall, looks like a pretty nice little property. And then let's go ahead and see what the property value is. So they have an estimate about 226. So only about $8,000 more than they have assessed here. So the property assessment and the property value is pretty close. We can also go over here and click on the parcel ID, and we can look up additional information. Now, New Jersey, because the auctions are on a city level, we can see, all of these different auctions are usually going to be some type of city auction. So in New Jersey, they don't have normal county tax sales like they do in Arizona or Florida or many of the other states. The auctions are going to be held on a city level, and the property taxes are paid on a city level. So that's the reason we only have 252 records. So you can see that these are really generally pretty small sales. You can go ahead and participate in one. Uh-oh. Looks like my computer just froze up. Well, hopefully you can still hear me. I'm going to go ahead and push pause for a minute. Alrighty. Hopefully we're back now. Looks like we had a little problem there, a little freeze up. But so here we're looking at the tax sale list, and we could go through and look at any of these different tax lien certificates. So here's one for $7,000. Now I'll bet that this one is probably on for property taxes. So we can see this property has a value of 198. Here's the address right here. We can also see that it sold for 127,000. We can click on the map and get a good overhead view. We can click on the charge type, and there we can see property taxes. So there's property taxes and a water bill that comes to that $7,000. This property is also the first time this is the first time this property has had a tax lien certificate on it, at least in the recent history. So from there, we can go ahead and go back to Google Earth and do a quick search of the property. And it doesn't look like we can get a street view of the property. So we'll go ahead and see what we can. Okay, so we're looking right here. Oh, yeah, we do. Okay. Usually you'll see a street view that comes up right here. But what I'm going to go ahead and do is if you click right here, sometimes it'll pull up a street view there close by. That's Cook Road. I think it's this house right here. But we'd have to do a little bit more research. But overall, we're looking at a pretty good property. We could also, of course, check out the address on Zillow to give us a better idea. And we see this property sold for $275,000. Now I'm interested if that sale went through or not, because they say 6/22/15. It's possible that they could have not paid that first year of property taxes, but it makes me wonder because usually if they've sold a property, then they have to pay the property taxes. So if it was from 2014 and sold then, I could say, oh, okay, somebody who didn't pay the property taxes last year, but I'll have to wonder if that sale actually went through, because we can see the last time it sold as far as the county was concerned was 127. So they may have got an offer, or maybe it sold at but the sale was never finalized. And so we can go through these different and separate them by price and then start reviewing any of these taxing certificates. Now let's quickly also search over-the-counters. I just want to show you some of these over-the-counter tax liens. And I'm going to go ahead and show you Polk County. So once I get here, I'm going to go ahead and preview items for sale so I can see which taxing certificates are available. Okay. And then I'm going to go ahead and organize them by price. And we can see all of these different tax liens that are available by price. These are all over-the-counter tax liens. Now I am looking for a certain price of tax lien. I looked up a couple of tax liens earlier today. So essentially, I know that the tax liens I'm looking at are about $200, mid 200s. So I'm going to continue scrolling through the pages until I get to the price that I'm looking at or looking for. So 263. So we're right here. Okay. So the first tax lien certificate I want to look at is this one right here. Now I see some information that's going to be helpful for me. First of all, I don't see an O right here. You can see that there's an O right up here. There's an O on many of these properties. This one does not have an O. Now if we click our mouse over the O, we see it says there are outstanding tax certificates on this property. So this property has other tax liens that are against this property. And we can see the tax year right here, the certificate year. We can click on the map and then also the parcel number here. In addition to that, on this list, unlike the Colorado list, we're going to have the link that we can click on to pull up, some kind of a quick view of what this property is. So we can see that there's no delinquent taxes on here. So let's go ahead and click on the tax year. We can see here's the address of the property. We can see that it's vacant land. It's 0.02 acres. It has a face value of $261 and has an assessed value of $9,000, $9,438, so about $9,500. Now, with this particular property, we're not looking at a high-dollar single-family home or anything like that, but that doesn't mean that this isn't a safe investment or a safe tax lien. first of all, I can see that there's no outstanding tax lien certificates, so this is the first time this property has had a tax lien issued on it. I can see it's vacant land. I can see it has an address right here, and it's about 1/4 of an acre. So looks to be something like a building lot. I can click on the location map and pull up a map of the property. I can also click on the certificate history, but this particular property has no certificate history because this is a first-year lien. So, even though the property has an assessed value of about $10,000, it could easily be worth $15,000, maybe even $20,000. And a lot of this area and a lot of these markets are going up in value. So I can also go ahead and click on the parcel number to pull up the property. I can see the map available right here. I can see sales information here. I can see the land value here and additional information. And so, the first thing we want to do is we want to go ahead and check this property out. So the way we're going to do that is we're going to go ahead and look at the address. Now, the reason I chose this property was because the Google map doesn't show us the right property. It's taken us to actually the wrong property. And the way that I know that is I look here, and first of all, it doesn't look like there's really a lot here. It looks like there could be one there. But after I did a little bit more research, I was able to see that it was next to an Emerald Avenue and 3rd Avenue. So what I decided to do was just go back here and type in Emerald. And from there, I could see an Emerald Avenue right here. This property is located on 3rd Street. So I see a 2nd Street right here, and we see a 3rd Street right here. So that's the reason sometimes you got to do a little bit of due diligence when you're looking into tax and certificates, because if we trusted just Google Maps where it originally had the property, we would have really been looking at the wrong property. Now, many times the maps will be a good tool and get us right there or close to it, but we can see that it really took us up in a different area. Here is the building lot available right here. We can also click on the interactive map. And whenever you're using the interactive maps, you always want to use the aerial footages. That way we can see exactly what's underneath the property. I'll pull up. Okay. So we can see it's this building lot located right here. And if we look, we can see the top of the home here, the top of this home here, and we can see that it's the same top of the homes. See the red home, the red home. So it's this building lot right here. Now, if I wanted to, I could go ahead and click right there and go down and look at the street view. So we can see it's a vacant lot. And we see apartments over here, though. And so because it's close to apartments and there's, looks like either homes, retirement homes, there's a lot of Cadillacs and Park Avenues, or an office building. But we can see the lot located right here. So of course it's overgrown, it has a fence around it. But overall, this lot has value, especially when you're looking at a total investment of $230,000. I mean, you could probably put a sign in that and sell it, even if you could only sell it for $5,000. You could make a pretty good return off your investment. So it took a little bit more research to find this property, but we were able to find it and see exactly what it is. Next tax lien I want to look at is 26075. $76. Okay, it's this tax lien right here. Now we can see that this tax lien has outstanding tax lien certificates. And we can see that this property has one additional unpaid certificate. So there's one tax lien here, but we can also see that there's 4 redeemed tax liens down here. So this property has had tax liens in the past, but those tax liens have been paid. So if we're looking to get paid back our money and our interest rate return without going to foreclosure, this is somebody that has a history of paying off their delinquent taxes. We can see the assessed value of the property here at $13,700. And we can see over here that the property is 5 acres. Now, usually I recommend that the property have a full address before you purchase it. Make sure it has a full address. Otherwise you don't want it to be the property to be landlocked or not have a total address. But because of the value of the property, I can see it's 5 acres, and that it only has one other taxing certificate for $220. I'm going to go ahead and do a little bit more research into it. Also, we can go over here and click on the certificate history, and we can see it had a tax lien in 2008, 2009, 2010. They skipped in 2011 and paid, but then had one in 2012 and 2013. We can see all the ones up till 2012 have been paid. So we're going to go back here and we're going to go ahead and click on the parcel ID so we can pull up the property record. And we have the address, of course, All East Street here. We can see the building value down here, the owners. We're going to go ahead and click on the interactive map. And we're going to go ahead and click on the aerials. So I can see that there's a road that goes along the property all along here. And I can see that this is, quite a large chunk of land. Now, why would you be interested in this property? Well, I can see that there's some nice homes right here in the area. You see these different homes? You can see the pool there and a big home here, home here, nice big home here. All bunch of big homes along here. And then we can also see big homes surrounding the property along here, along the front as well. So, if somebody's paying for big homes within this area and nice big lots, this lot is 2 or 3 times the size and might be a real nice lot overall. And so, when you're looking at an investment of $250, you're looking at a 5-acre parcel in Florida. Really it's a no-brainer. The property only has an assessed value of $12,000, or I guess it's $14,000, but it could easily be worth over $20,000, if not more. And when you're looking at the price that you're purchasing it at, this is the type of property you could sell online, you could sell to a neighboring property owner and make a good return on. Okay. Let's look at one more And we're going to look at this tax lien certificate right here. So we can see this tax lien is from 2014. We have the parcel number here. I'm going to go ahead and click on the tax year, and we can see here's the address to the property. It's on Broadway Street, Fort Meade, Florida. We can see it has the code of a store, 1 story, built in 1958. We can see it has a total assessed value of about $10,000. We can see that it has a face value of $249, and it also has 5 redeemed certificates. So this person has had a history of being late on their property taxes and then paying them off. We're also going to go ahead and click on the map. And we can see that it's this little property right here. Now, how I know that is we're going to go ahead and check out the county record. We can see the interactive map here. We can see that here's the building right here. It also has a small piece of property across the street. I always want to check the overhead map and the aerial map. That way I can see the property lines of exactly where the property is, what's underneath the property. Is it a vacant lot? Is there a home there? What is the property with the aerial images? If we can get one of them to work. Okay. So here I can see that, it's a long property. I can also see that there's, looks to be a storefront or, the top of a roof here. Also a small little roof right here. And, of course, this is the roof of this building right here and the roof right here. So it's this 3D fencing building right here. The lot is quite long like this, and it's this building right here. So, overall, I mean, when you're looking at a tax lien certificate of this value, of that amount, is this a tax lien I would invest into? Yeah. Overall, we're looking at a property here that is commercial property that does have some type of structure here. And so is your money going to be protected? Yeah. I mean, it has assessed value of 10 grand, but let's say it's worth even 15 grand, and you're purchasing it a tax lien off for $250. Even if they're delinquent next year, another $250, $500, that'll put you 2 years into the redemption period. You can start foreclosure process, and either you're going to make 18% on your money, or you're going to get the property for $500. We've looked at it, we know that it doesn't have any tax lien certificates on it. So, I just want to show you different types of tax liens that aren't going to cost a ton of money to get started with, that you can purchase and still earn a great interest rate return on your money and have a property that has value and has use. That's always what we're looking for. We want to make sure the property has value and has use. So now what I want to do is I want to go ahead and go back . Oh, we are running out of time, so let's go through this quickly. First thing I want to do is I want to go ahead and show you Grant Street Group. Oh, excuse me, bidforassets.com. So here is the Bid for Assets website. If we were to go to the home page, it would look something like this. And we would go over here and click on County Tax Sales. Now, once we click on County Tax Sales, we can see the different tax sales that are coming up. There's one here on October 16th. We can go ahead and click on the county and pull up the individual tax sale list. So I can see there's 26 tax defaulted properties, October 16th through the 19th. Of course, we have the information down here, the online files right here. Now, as I mentioned, what I like to do is download the Excel file. That way I have a full list of what the property information is. Okay. Also, one thing I like to do, especially if I'm just doing some basic early due diligence, is I might go ahead and erase some of this information that's not usable to me at this time. Just so I can kind of shrink the information down. Where I can just look at kind of all the information that's available. So I can see this first taxing certificate right here. Did I erase the address? Huh. Okay, so here we're looking at this first taxing certificate. We can see it has an opening bid of $8,000. It has an improvement value of 29, a land value of 10, total value of about 40. We can go over here to the right and we can actually click on this little parcel number right here. And that's going to pull up the property record on bid for assets. Then from there I can see the information and I have the address listed right here. So what we could do at that point is we could go ahead and go to Google Maps and do a quick search on the property just to get an idea of what it is. And we're looking at this little home right here. So, not the nicest property in the world, but, does it have value at $8,000? We could go see if Google, if Zillow will pull up anything. And Zillow has a value of $215. Now, maybe it's not worth that much, but even if it's worth half that much at an $8,000 price point, it could definitely be a good investment. And essentially, we would go through that the same process with every one of these tax liens or tax deeds that have a minimum bid of the amount that we want to invest. So if you wanted to invest between 8 to 10 grand, then you could eliminate some of these tax liens that are above that amount. You could look at the $8,000 one, the $12,000, the $13,000 if you were looking from 10 to 20 grand. If you had up to $30,000 to spend, then you could go through and look at actually all of these properties. And then, of course, you could eliminate properties that don't fit what you're looking for. So if you were just looking at properties up to 20 grand, you could eliminate these properties down until you just have the list with the properties that you're interested in. Then from there, you can go ahead and click on the individual links, look at the property, and find out more about it. See some single families down here. Here's one for $42,000. It's worth $327,000. Okay. My computer seems to be having some problems this evening. Alrighty, so that's really the process with Bid for Assets. I'm sure we'll look at a lot of properties upcoming seminars and webinars with auctions that are coming up. But that's essentially the process you're going to go through. Now, once you have picked out the tax deeds that you're interested in, then in a future webinar or training, and possibly in some past ones, we also have training in there as well about some of the due diligence that you're going to go through before you get ready for the tax sale. Because with these properties, we're looking at tax deeds. And so essentially, we're looking at real estate investing. We're going to become the new property owner after the auction is over. So, with these properties where we are going to be the property owner, we're going to spend a lot more time doing research on these type of properties than we will on the taxing certificates that we were looking at earlier. Because we're looking at on those tax liens, we're investing a small amount. We have a chance to own the property. Most likely, though, we're going to be paid back our money and our interest. With this type of auction, we're acquiring the property, so obviously we're going to do a lot more research so that we know exactly what we're investing into. Now we just have a couple more minutes. Let's go ahead and look at some Florida online auctions. We're going to go ahead and go to Lee County. And we can see the different auctions that are coming up. I actually went through that faster than I should. Okay, so here we're on Lee County. You can see the registration button. That's where you go ahead and register, the training dates, the site guided tour, the tax deed process. Here we have the auction calendar. If you're going to register, you're going to go ahead and register there. We're just looking at the list. So we're going to click on the auction calendar. We can see the different auctions that are coming up. I'm going to go ahead and click on the 13th. What's going to happen is it's going to pull up a list of the different auctions or the different properties that are coming up for auction on the 13th. So I can see the opening bid amount here for $3,000, the parcel ID right here, and the property address here, and then the assessed value right here. So I can see that this has an opening bid of $3,000 and it has assessed value of $30,000. Now we actually looked at this one last week. We can see it's this little condominium right here. And essentially we would go through and look at these individual properties, and you can look at them very quickly and to tell if it's an investment that you want to look at. Here's one for $974, assessed value is $3,000. I'm not going to spend any time looking at the property. Here's one for $2,695. It has assessed value of $41,000. I'm going to go ahead and look at that property because it has an assessed value. That again is a nice little modular home. And essentially we would go through this process. So as we're looking at the tax sale list, I can see here this one has an opening bid of $11,000. It has an assessed value of $200,000. So we're looking at about a 5% opening bid amount. Yeah, that's pretty good. Let's go ahead and click on the link and see what the property is. We can see by the overhead view it's a single family home. We also see the picture of the property right here. It really looks like a pretty clean property. 2-car garage. Of course, we have the address listed right here. And we're going to do a quick check and see what Zillow estimates this property as. Now, as we're using Zillow, it's not going to always be right on. Before you bid on a tax deed, you're going to do a comparative market analysis, but at least gives us a clue of what the properties in the area are valued at. So here we can see the property right here. We can see it has actually a little boat slip right here, so that's nice. We can see it has an estimated value of $337,000. So here's a property coming up for a tax deed auction that has a market value of $340,000, even though it's $330,000, with an opening bid amount of about $12,000. That's what makes tax deed investing so awesome, is because even if the bidding gets competitive and you bid up half of assessed value, say the auction was real competitive, and you can see there's a lot of properties available here, but it's sold for $100,000. Well, even at the price of $100,000, you would have $130,000 worth of profit that could be had on it. So even if you just turn around and make $100,000 off of it, this is a deal that within 3 to 4 months you could be through quiet title, you could have a list with an agent, and be on your way to selling the property. And so when it comes to looking at tax deed properties, that's what we're always going to take into account is what is going to be the price that we can purchase it. And before you participate in the auction, you're going to have a good idea. In fact, you're going to have the exact price that you're willing to go up to. So you could do some research on this property, and if you're purchasing a tax deed, you're going to want to have somebody take a current picture of the property. you want to have a current photo of the property before you bid on a property like this at auction. Now, if it's maybe a piece of land, you might be safe without doing that. But if there's a structure on the property, you want to have a photo of the property, a current photo, before you bid on the property. So, if you went out and had photos taken or saw the property yourself, it looked great, the condition looked good, then you could determine exactly what you'd be willing to bid. So maybe you'd say, I'm willing to go up to $60,000, or I'm willing to go to $20,000, or whatever your bid amount is. If I only had $20,000 to invest, I would bid on that property. Now, I might not win it, but I'm going to take a shot at it. If I had, a total of $20,000 to invest. And I maybe look at many of these other properties as well. In fact, on the properties that we purchased in Florida, we ended up losing, 7 or 8 properties before we won one. And then, another 6 or 7 properties, and then won another. Because we were willing to let the properties go that went above our predetermined, limit on each individual property. Here's one for $6,000, valued at $69,000. So just by that assessed value, we know it's a little bit different type of property than this one right here. This one here right here has looks like a pool, covered pool, and a boat slip. So, overall, we're looking at a pretty nice property. This one has a lower assessed value, so it's going to be a little bit different type of property, but still going to have value to it. Here's the property right here, just to get the property that we were looking at. Right there. In fact, we can see, well, maybe that's not boarded up. Never mind. Their windows are open. So let's go ahead and click on the parcel ID and pull up the property. Okay, well, this actually looks like a pretty nice home. It's definitely newer. We can see it was built in 2007. It's about 1,300 square feet, 3-bedroom, 2-bath. You can see its home right here. Looks like it's in a subdivision where there's not a ton of homes, but probably some homes in the subdivision. We can go down here and click on any of the information to find out more about it. We can see it sold for $52,000 in 2009. Now, that may have been the total property, that may have been the lot. We're not sure at this point. At 2009, the market was probably pretty high in that area, or right before the bubble. Let's go ahead and look at it. Okay, so we see the property is located right here. Has an estimated value of $108,000. You can see the property right here. So overall, it looks to have a pretty good value, especially when we're looking at a $6,000 opening, a $6,000 opening bid price. And we'll go ahead and take a quick street view as well. Okay, so this tells us a lot about the property. That's the reason it's important to always check these, and then also to have a current photo of the property. So we can see down here at the bottom, this was taken in November 2013. So essentially, that's over 2 years old, or not quite 2 years old, when this photo was taken. So it's possible this property could be cleaned up. It's also possible that the property, could even have more weeds on it. We can look over here in the county record and see if this property is owner occupied, and I bet that it's not. Okay, so we can see that this property is owned by somebody that lives in Riverdale, Maryland. Of course, this property is in Florida, so there's a good chance this was an investment. So even though that we see this photo looks looks quite nice in this particular photo, we can see what the property looks like now. Now that doesn't mean that this isn't a nice property. Hey, it may have never even been lived in. But we're going to do some more due diligence. We're going to do some research on this property before we start bidding. And even though it only says $6,000, we're going to take that to condition, because this condition and that condition is going to be a separate bid. This condition you may bid up to, if it's worth 100, let's just say it's worth 100 grand, you might bid up to 35 grand for that property. Maybe even 40. If it's that clean, you could turn around and sell it, and still make, 40 or 50 grand off of it. That property you may bid up, maybe at half that much. You may bid to 20 grand or 25 grand, just depending on the current condition of the property. So it's important to go through and check all of the information that's available. Check to see when that photo was taken. Check to see the county record. Check to see Zillow, and just go through and verify all the facts and look for clues. Things that may be right about the property, something that may not be right. That way you always know exactly what you're bidding on. Because if we just trusted this and we didn't look at the property and we bid on the property, without doing the due diligence of checking what the property looks like here, and then also having somebody go out and take a current photo of the property, either somebody you hire off a Craigslist or an online classified site, or one of the companies that offer photos on real estate. Have somebody take a picture of the property so you know exactly what it is if you're not live in the area. We can see there's all kinds of other properties. There's another one for $8,000 worth 91. We could go through and look at these properties all day. Here's a different type of property. We can see that this property is some type of garage. Oh, we can see here it's classified as a nightclub, lounge, or bar. So it actually is probably some type of bar. But we do have the address right here, so we can just take a quick look and see what the property is. But you can see there's all kinds of different properties that are available here. This is just one auction on one day. There's 3 different auctions taking place, or 4 different auctions taking place in this county in this month. And this is only one auction, one county of a number of different counties. So there's always so many tax sales coming up and taking place. So we can see it's this pool and dart bar right here. If you could purchase that bar at the tax sale, for an opening bid amount of $8,000, it's probably worth over 100. Really you're looking at a pretty good return. You could rent that bar out to a different owner or to the current owner. Maybe it's a tenant that actually owns it here. And we could find a little bit more by looking into the county records. Who owns the property? We could look up the bar name by looking up the address, see who owns the bar, see if they're the same. If they're not the same, you might be able to rent it just to the same person. So, when you look at these, when you own property and you pick up property through tax deed investing, you can pick it up for such a good value that you could do different things. You could rent that out to the current owner. You could rehab it and sell it for top dollar. You could, quick sell it to, or even owner finance it to the renter if somebody's renting it. So there's a lot of different possibilities for you to make money on tax lien and tax deed investing. So we've already gone over, so I want to go ahead and call it an evening, but I want to thank you for coming to the training. We're going to continue adding information and adding new tools that are going to be available on the website. Of course, you can go to the training center and watch any of the videos right here. Review any of the information. You can always register for the webinar by clicking here, next week's webinar. And then, of course, you can go to the auction calendar. Still currently putting on list. You can see the different auctions that are coming up and click on any of these links to either go to the online auction page or to download the list. So again, I want to thank you for attending the webinar. Go ahead and try out the new forum section. So you can go ahead and click on here and ask your questions. it'll be a good place for us to be able to answer questions and communicate and just kind of get to know each other. So again, thank you for attending the webinar, and look forward to talking to you again next week.